What is going on, Niner fans? How we doing? How we feeling? Did I say 3 o'clock on the time star? I meant to put 3:15. So sorry, I'm a few minutes late, according to the, expected time, but was actually planning to be here at 3:15. So according to my calculations, I'm not late, but according to what I set, I'm late because I had to take care of some stuff when I got home from work. So, get the Warriors gear on. We ready to roll. Big game tonight. Hopefully the squad can hold it down for my boy Steph. But let's talk about the Niners. There's a lot of things that are to talk about because Robert Saleh met with the media. Not only Saleh, but Klay Kubiak and Brant Boyer. They said a lot. And, these are the coordinators. These are the guys that are going to assist Kyle in helping turn this franchise back into a winning organization. And, they fired a lot of coordinators. They've had to bring in Saleh back. Right? They got rid of Nick Sorensen. They got rid of Brian Schneider. They brought in Brant Boyer, and you promoted Kubiak to the offensive coordinator position and spoke about a lot of different things. So let's get into it. Let's talk about some things. Let's talk about what's said. So let's talk about Big Robert. This was the coolest, interview I feel like this offseason so far because we've been anticipating him coming back into the facility and talking. We haven't even seen much. A few weeks ago, we saw a video clip of him during like the local pro day, and him and Kyle were there, and he was wearing the all gas, no brakes shirt, and everybody's so excited. But this is the first time he's actually addressed the media, and he talked about it. So let's talk about what the actual stuff he said. He said a lot today. So the big thing, the big report, the big talking point was he says that he had no interest in being the defensive coordinator for any other team. He says nope. This was such a good quote, and I'm going to read it to you. This is first put out on there by Nick Wagner, but a lot of other people have since tweeted this and said this information. But he kind of opened up and says, look, I have tremendous amount of respect for this organization. They gave me so much, and during the first 2 years, if you think about those first 2 years as the coordinator in 17 and 18, it wasn't easy, and it could have been very easy for them to move on from me. He says, I'm indebted to this organization, to those men for the rest of my life. They stuck with me, and we made it happen. We did what we needed to do, and the rest is history, and I'm excited about the opportunity to get a chance to do it again with them. So it's pretty amazing that he's loyal to the soil for the Niners. They gave him the opportunity to be a defensive coordinator, right? He was a quality coach. He worked his way up, finally became a defensive coordinator. He had no coordinator experience. He was like a linebackers coach. He was quality control coach. He never was a DC. He came in as the 49ers DC when Kyle took over, and a lot of people were fire Saleh. Remember, everybody was fire Saleh. Fire that guy. And nobody liked him. Nobody wanted him. Everybody thought he was the scapegoat. Fire his ass. They stuck with him, and he became an absolute dog. The defense was so amazing. And, he said, look, man, I got to pay it forward to them. It gave me the opportunity. I became a head coach. It didn't go the way we wanted it, in New York. But I come back to the 49ers because he says I'm indebted to them. Like, he owes them everything he has in his career because they gave him the opportunity. They kept him around. I was like, damn, that was pretty damn. I had chills when I saw what I read that. I was like, it's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool, Robert. Like, this guy couldn't wait. He could have went anywhere. He could have went to any other team. He was such a high commodity in the coaching circles, but he stayed with the Niners. He was loyal. So shout out to Big Bob, man. That's pretty cool to hear. And, there was a couple other things that he said. He says that the scheme has evolved. There's stuff from the Jets there, and I've added new concepts this offseason. So he's evolved the concepts of this 49ers scheme, right? He has the scheme that he normally ran, the 4-3, or the wide 9, and then he's had the components of the Jets. So it's kind of nice to hear that Saleh is basically saying, look, man, I got a little new things to try. I was a head coach for the Jets, and now I'm going to add a few things from there. I got some new wrinkles. We're going to still run the 49ers defense that I coach. I'm going to try a few new things. So it's nice to see that he's not just going to like copy paste what he did in the past. He's going to try to get a little bit more creative because obviously he wasn't perfect, right? They lost the Super Bowl, and he knows he needs to continue to evolve the offense. So good, or the defense. So good to hear that. Let's take a look. What's going on, everybody? Rick says Saleh looks yoked. He should play edge for us. He might be able to. Joe Outlaw says Moody gone. We're going to talk about Moody in a brief amount of time. What's up, big Steven Reynolds? I know he had a birthday a couple of days ago. Shout out to my boy Steven. Happy birthday to you. Happy belated birthday. AJ says, not me. I believed in Saleh. I kept telling fans, Rome was not built in a day. Got to be patient, I said, and I'm glad he was successful. Can't wait to see him again jumping in the sideline. Me too, AJ. I'm excited to see him and all the energy he had. And, that's the thing. People were not patient. They took over a bad team. They needed to build the squad and stack the talent. And after a few years, they got the talent and they were really successful. And I feel like that's a big thing is, patience. But 49ers, not just 49ers, but a lot of teams want success. When you don't have success, people get irritated and they got to move on. And we want fast results. And I feel like a lot of coaches in this league, sometimes they don't get the patience that they deserve. They don't get the time that they deserve. You have to have results in this league or it's boom, rapid fire. Let's go on to the next. But I do feel that the Niners did give him some opportunities and they kept him longer than I think a lot of people wanted. And it worked out. And I'm glad that he's back and I'm glad everything worked out. He's successful. And I know it didn't go the way he wanted to with the Jets, but guy, it wasn't for lack of trying. He put together a great defense. They had some great years defensively, offensively. He just couldn't figure it out. He's not an offensive guy. He's not an offensive guy, right? He just couldn't get the quarterback situation. But they had some near, successful seasons. It's just he couldn't get over that hump, couldn't get past, that extra gear where you needed to be a playoffs team. So, unfortunate for him, but fortunate for the Niners. We got a very, very, very good defensive coordinator, and he's excited to be back with the team. So he said a lot of other things. He talked about the draft where they had a lot of time to go through this draft, and he says, he was very happy to have all the time he was able to spend through the draft with the team. Take a couple other quotes that he said, but these are some of the things he said about the upcoming guys. He says he's excited to get the rookies on the field this weekend, right? They got rookie minicamp. He says a lot of them have a good shot for a lot of playing time this season. So a lot of the guys they drafted probably could be starters. He says the board fell our way from a defensive standpoint. Talking about the draft board, he says he was very happy with the way the draft benefited the 49ers. He said there were some offensive guys ranked higher than that were taken before. So some guys that were ranked a little bit higher in offense taken before the 49ers. So they were able to get the defensive players that they wanted. And he says, I want them to come out and compete. There's no expectations right now on the rookies. He says, at the end of the day, there's no expectation. We just got to see what they could do. He wants them to come out, be ready, and compete, and you earn your job. So I kind of like this team now. I like where they stand. I know they're 6-win team last year, and we don't know what the expectations are for this team. Really, it's good because now all these guys have a chance to earn a big spot, earn a role, earn a starting spot, and there's really nobody that's like, okay, other than like Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, and Diamond Lenore, it's an open competition, and that's going to make everybody play their ass off. And it's, iron sharpens iron type mentality. And I think it's good. 49ers have a fresh, new, young team, and it's good to hear everything that's coming out. But yeah, overall, looks like Robert has the energy. I think everybody's happy that he's back. He looks yoked. He looks happy. He looks vibrant. And I think that energy is going to expand over to this team. And I think that's what we're missing. As a defensive coordinator or any coach, you want to have the energy, and your players are going to take that from you. They're going to take your energy. They're going to take whatever energy. If you have, if you're like Eeyore, fucking down in the dumps, depressed, I don't know, dude, it's going to reverberate through a team. As a physical therapist, if I'm like, my patients are going to be like, but if I'm like hyped up, all right, keep your head up. Let's go, positive. Oh my God, that was amazing. Oh my God, it's going to help them, and they're going to feel more confident. Trust me, 100%. Every time I see patients, I'm like, and I always have to tell them, you're doing good, and, keep your head up, be positive, because it's hard. You get down in the dumps, and in sports, you get down in the dumps. Once you start losing, you get that mentality of, okay, we're done, we're cooked. You got to keep it positive, and I think that's what Robert brings to the table. He's a very positive, he's a high energy guy. Even D'Amico Ryans was like that, and we didn't have that. Nick Sorensen was just like, well, he's just a poor buzzkill. He was a buzzkill type of energy guy. And now we have energy. And I feel like that's what I saw today from all the video clips and all the posts and stuff I've seen. Just a lot of high energy. I like it. And it's good because now there's going to be a lot of competition, and competition breeds success. And I love that the way this is kind of played out. Like, yeah, it sucked last year, but now we have a very eager, hungry, young team ready to prove themselves. And Tanisha says, I like Saleh introducing competition, unlike players who have just a sense of entitlement. That's a great comment right there. Because a lot of times, okay, I'm just the man. I'm going to come in. I'm going to get the starting spot. And sometimes it's like an older veteran that's a little on the washed up side. And it's like there's no chance for the rookies or the younger players. And now everybody's got a chance. I mean, unless you're a guy like Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, but they're not going to go out there and be like, oh, I'm the man. They're going to come out there and lead these guys and lead by example and show them what they need to do, the 49ers standard. So there's veterans and then there's leaders and captains. And that's what you have in Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. And for them to come to these voluntary off-season workouts, it's nice to see them helping out these young guys. So I feel like having Fred Warner and Nick Bosa and Kittle and Trent Williams and all these guys that are veterans, it's good for the young guys because usually you don't have them. But this team, it's on a different wavelength. They got the leaders there to help, teach these younger players, and there's a lot of competition. They're all going to be hungry. You even have Brock Purdy there. He's in the middle of a contract. Guys, and he's out there. He doesn't need to be there. They posted those videos yesterday. They posted that video yesterday with him and Christian McCaffrey, doing the thing. And I was like, okay, that's pretty dope, dude, to see Brock Purdy out there slinging the pill. He doesn't need to be there. Like, how many players have they went through over the last few years, went through a contract situation? They weren't there. Even George Kittle said this week, right? There was a report. We posted it on Instagram. There was a report that says he's happy that there's just no drama. It's drama-free. And I think that's what the motto is this season. Everybody's happy. They're set. Their minds are set on football and nothing else. They just want to play and be better. So, yeah. Let's take a look at all these comments here. 49ers 2025 says, what's up, Raj? Hope all is well with you. Where's that Brant Boyer presser? What's up? I'm good. They didn't stream it. 49ers didn't have it, but a lot of reporters have, posted content and stuff. If you look on Twitter, if you look on Instagram, there's a lot of content up there. Matt Lively and myself, we collabed on a couple of posts, what he said. So I've done my best job in trying to post as many videos as I could of it throughout my platforms. But yeah, it's not up for the public to see, unfortunately, at the moment. But there's a lot of video clips out there on Instagram. But yeah, he said a lot of good stuff. Let's talk about Brant Boyer next. It's a good segue. We'll talk about what he said. What's up, April? Dead says, I like what the special teams coach said today. We're going to talk about him. Nathan Banks says, what's up? What's up? Nathan Frank says, what's up? Rick says, Brock is showing leadership. Just need to get his deal done. I think they will eventually. Tanisha says, I believe the Niners were super embarrassed last season, which is why the veteran players are going over and beyond. It seems that they are refusing to have a repeat of last season. I think that's a good take as well. They don't want to be embarrassed. They were definitely embarrassed. They get roasted everywhere. The Niners are like the butt of the jokes. You saw Colin Cowherd this week. Oh, Niners, they didn't improve. They're horrible. There's a bad team. They're going to be last place in division. People are still mocking us. We're the underdogs in many, many people's eyes. So I think the 49ers got a lot to prove. And, when they get dirt kicked in their eyes, when they're the underdogs, 49ers typically play better, and they like to prove everybody wrong. Most people do, right? When people doubt you, you want to be better and prove that damn person wrong. When someone doubts you in life, you want to go above and beyond and prove them wrong. And I think that's what the 49ers are doing. So very good point. I think you're right. Let's move on to what Brant Boyer said. He said a lot today. I was really liking his energy today. This guy, he won me over as an offensive coordinator. I mean, it's really not that hard when you last year had Brian Schneider. So it's not that hard to be better than what you were in the past last year. That guy was terrible. But Brian Schneider, he's out. Brant Boyer today, he says, it's either you or me, and it's going to be you, period. He says that's the mindset he is bringing to the team. On the mindset he's brought to the team is it's either you or me. It's going to be you. It's not going to be me. It's got to be you. Like, he has a very good mentality. He talked a lot about, the players that he's brought in. He also talked a lot about John Weeks, the special teams long snapper. We're going to talk about him in a minute. But I really like this guy's energy. He seems to have a good sense in the job. Obviously, we're excited because we're getting a new special teams coordinator. And last year, the one we had was just not great. We've been clamoring, right? Special teams has been terrible. And Brant Boyer also said, take a look at Junior Bergeron. He really likes Junior Bergeron. He was the 7th round draft pick. He's probably going to be, punt returner, but he's also going to compete with Jacob Cowing. And he mentioned Ricky Pearsall, but I wouldn't think Ricky Pearsall is going to be in the mix to be a punt returner. He said he's going to be in the mix in competition in the preseason, and then Trent Taylor. But I definitely don't think Purcell is going to get the punt returner job because he's going to be busy being one of the top wide receivers, one or two of the wide receivers. So he did mention that little nugget that there's going to be a competition for punt returner. But from everything I've read and seen, it looks like that Junior Bergen, the 7th-round wide receiver, is probably going to be a punt returner. If he can beat out Jacob Cowing and Trent Taylor, this guy's got the job locked. He was a very good return specialist in college. So let's talk about what Brant Boyer said today about John Weeks. He's a 39-year-old, right? Everybody was laughing. They said, oh, they're trying to get younger, but they brought in this guy. Like, he's a long snapper. Probably the one position it doesn't matter if you're older because he's a very long tenured, well-respected long snapper, a veteran long snapper. He played for the Houston Texans for 15 years. He was a captain. This guy was a beloved player as a long snapper in Houston. So he says he has a very steady hand and he's going to make Jake Moody's job easier. This is the thing he said about Jake Moody is that he believes that John Weeks is going to make a big difference for Jake Moody. So he says that John Weeks, he's going to help Jake Moody this season. He says, I think being healthy is a huge deal, right? I think he also talked about how Jake Moody wasn't healthy last year, but he says John Weeks is a huge deal for him. Like, this guy was a very, very, very dependable long snapper. So it tells me, I mean, obviously one of the first things that they did in this offseason was they cut, right, Tabor Pepper. And everybody was like, holy crap, you cut the long snapper? But from seeing all this content, hearing the reports and seeing the videos, I really think that Brant Boyer thought, hey, man, this guy is the reason why Jake Moody is not doing good. Other than the injuries, he said, hey, we need to get a better long snapper. He's not putting the ball in place for our kicker to go out there and make the kicks, because he talked a lot about John Weeks and his steady hand and how he's going to make the job of Jake Moody easier. It's crazy. So to me, it sounds a lot like, hey, Jake Moody definitely has to prove himself, but he's put a lot of the pressure off of Jake Moody because he said a lot of this is because of the long snapper issues they had. And I'm not going to say nothing. I don't want to cause any drama. I don't want to cause any, speculation, but it seems that he knew as soon as he was going to take this job that, hey, I need to get John Weeks as a long snapper because he's a very well-respected, a very good player, and I need to get this man Tabor Pepper out of there. And, hey, we remember Tabor Pepper and Deebo Samuel, they crashed out together, right? They had to crash out. It was a situation. So he got rid of that. And maybe there was some issues in the locker. I mean, at the end of the day, what George Kittle said, right, there's no drama. You don't have Tabor Pepper out there anymore. It's kind of interesting. So this is what Brant Boyer said specifically about Jake Moody. Let's hear what he said. So he said there isn't a special teams coach in the league. He said there isn't a special teams coach in the league that didn't have him rated number 1 coming out that I know. So basically when Jake Moody was coming out of college, he was the best kicker coming out of college. Everybody said it. He goes, every special teams coordinator said this. So it's not just him. Everybody. So, the 49ers took the highest rated kicker. He said, look, he's as talented a kid as it gets. I think that the injury issue where he was fighting injuries going back and forth, I think that had a lot to do with it. I think that the kid will get his mind right, which I think he's doing. He's doing a hell of a job for us so far. I think he'll do a heck of a job for us. I really do. So Brant Boyer has a lot of faith in Jake Moody. He says he's a very talented player. He was the best coming out of the draft. The injuries played a big part in him missing kicks because he did have an ankle injury. And if you're a kicker, having an ankle injury is going to really impact you kicking. So they rushed him back. They brought him back, then he was hurt, this and that. And I think he's basically saying, like, he probably needed to rest a little bit more, but they needed to play him, right? Because he's your starting kicker. He's drafted and, they got to get him in there. And unfortunately, I think all those things took a toll on him. I think that's what Brant Boyer is saying. So right now, he didn't say he's going to start all right, like he's officially earned the job. There's going to be a competition. He says, we'll see how he does in preseason. But it does seem like Brant Boyer likes Jake Moody. And I think the team is, all aboard Jake Moody. But if he does improve himself and he's going to go out there and stink it up, I think they don't have any qualms in cutting him because they cut a lot of other players this offseason. So right now, I think they're trying to instill confidence on Jake Moody. I think Brant Boyer, this is, a sign of confidence for him. Obviously, new coach. You're not going to come in and rip the players apart. You're not going to rip them to shreds. But good for Brant. He's given positive affirmations to Jake Moody. Now, we'll see how Jake Moody does on the field, because I'm sure everybody in here, most people on Twitter, I'm sure if I read the comments yet, I haven't checked yet, but pretty sure they aren't too positive for Jake Moody. So he's got a lot to prove. But Brant Boyer, he says a lot of that had to do with the injuries. So, yeah. So here's the comments right now. The excuses for this bum kicker never end. A hell of a job in what sense? Somebody said, please, God, do not let him be our kicker again. Yeah. So as I said, most people don't believe what he's saying. But as the new special teams coordinator, you're not going to go out there and throw the player under the bus. So he's doing what he has to do. But he is giving him the benefit of doubt, right? His new kicker. He has to go out there and at least see what he has. He has to make a fair assessment. He's, got to be very, very fair in this. He can't just be out there and make a subjective call. I hate you. You suck. So he has to be very objective. Go see what he can do. Go out there. There's going to be a competition. They got a new, rookie kicker coming in tomorrow at the rookie minicamp. Got to try out Kenny the kicker. So, hey, the 49ers, at the end of the day, they do have some plans, some plan Bs and Cs in case Jake Moody isn't going to be in their cards. But, yeah, overall, I really like what Brant Boyer is bringing to the table. He's energetic. But, again, it's the first time we met him. It's a good first impression. It's a lot better of a first impression than, some of these other coaches have made over the years. Especially, I remember last year, Nick Sorensen, I don't know, man. I couldn't really get a good temperature check on the guy. And I think most of us didn't like what he was saying because he just didn't answer any of the questions. Salah was just out there slinging it, talking. He's been there before. It wasn't like an awkward, weird situation. Last year, Nick Sorensen, some of the questions he just didn't answer. It was weird, right? It was just very weird. So. April says Debo choked him out being Tabor Pepper for a reason. Yeah, Debo choked Tabor for. We can revisit that. I've talked about that a lot. Me and Larry had a big argument about that last year, but there's a reason why he must have choked them out, because they cut him. They cut that man Tabor. So Brant Boyer wasn't the only coach that they talked about. The other coach they talked to was Klay Kubiak. He's your new 49ers offensive coordinator. He raved about Juwan Jennings. He says he's very excited about him. Juwan told him that I'm number one. I'm your number one guy. So it looks like, yeah, right now, Juwan Jennings coming into this camp with sky-high expectations for himself, for a lot of hype on himself and a lot of confidence. And last year he had a career year, very short of 1,000 yards because of that last game, nonsense. And he missed a few games. And, Brandon Ayuk, he's going to be injured. We don't know where he's going to be right now. But he did mention that, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings is the guy that right now is probably going to be the top of the chart. So a lot of expectations for Juwan Jennings. And, the nice thing about Jennings, he's in another career contract year. So expect a huge, huge season for Juwan Jennings as long as he can be healthy and continue to roll. I mean, the offense is the offense. So I got to love it. He did talk about Jacob Cowing. That is Klay Kubiak, and he mentioned him, and it was interesting to hear about Jacob Cowing. So that's a guy a lot of people have on their radar, right? Like, can he step up? Can he be part of the offense more? Right? We don't have Brandon Ayuk for who knows how long, and a lot of people are pointing to, we got Purcell, we got Jennings. What about Jacob Cowing? You drafted him last year. Where there was a story a couple of days ago on Chris Sims' podcast from John Lynch, and said that it was between Cowing and a linebacker. They had like 45 seconds left. They took Cowing over the linebacker. It's like, were they sure about taking the pick? A lot of people have criticized, 49ers taking wide receivers with Kyle Shanahan era. I mean, they're hit or miss, but a lot of people have high expectations for Jacob Cowing. And Klay Kubiak says that he's done a great job this offseason, getting in really good shape. He's been going to the offseason programs. He looks like he's gotten better. And for the 49ers, if you know them, it's all about showing up and being in better shape and working throughout the offseason and practicing. You have to really put a good foot forward in practice for them to trust you. And it seems like that's what they're doing, right? That's what Jacob Cowing's doing. So good news for Jacob. I think he's going to get a lot of opportunities here in training camp coming up. And as long as he can make the most of them, I think he'll be a better player this year. And I think he'll be, utilized a little bit more in the offense. I think we all want to see Cowing. He has talent. This guy's very talented, but he has to prove himself to these coaches. You remember Brandon Ayuk when he first came in, right? He was in the doghouse. He had to prove himself. A lot of these players, have to prove themselves in practice. A couple of the players through the years, I go to these training camps and I see like Ambry Thomas was probably the worst practice cornerback, and he just couldn't get it. And if you're not practicing good, you're going to get in the doghouse. And that opened up the door. I remember Diamond Lenore after his first season, it was like, man, I thought he was going to be playing a lot, but then, you know, they gave Ambry the reps and he earned it after that big interception against the Rams. And then here comes the second year, man, Diamond Lenore was like a changed man. And now a couple of years later, Lenore, big extension. He's probably the number one cornerback on the team. Ambry Thomas off the squad. So just got to go out there and show that you've developed and improved. And that's what they're saying right now about Jacob Cowie. So I'm excited. Hopefully he can continue to improve and prove himself this offseason. But good name. Keep an eye on Jacob Cowie. Klay Kubiak did talk about him. He talked about Brandon Ayuk. He talked about Christian McCaffrey. Let's hear what he had to hear. This is what he said about Christian McCaffrey. He says, Christian's doing great. He looks awesome, and we're pumped up that he's out there working every day. So I look forward to getting him back out there full time. He says, you guys saw in 2023 how important that he is to what we want to do to be as an offense. He's an elite player, and we're going to do everything we can to give him the ball as much as we can. And yeah, his health is really important. He's one of our central players on offense. We want to hand him the ball. We want to throw him the ball. How he changes defenses when he's on the field, for how they have to play us in certain coverages, putting more guys in the box to stop the run. I like it has an effect on the opponent. So he's really gung-ho on Christian. I think that is the big, key to this offense. And Klay Kubiak is very excited on how Christian McCaffrey is coming into this camp. All signs point to him, being back to where he was from 2023, right? There's been early reports. John Lynch has said it. He is on a good footing coming into training camp. And we saw the video yesterday. I know it's a small snippet, but him and Brock look like they've been working very hard together in the offseason. And Brandon Ayuk also is making progress according to Klay Kubiak. He's not sure when he's going to be cleared, obviously, but he does expect him to come in this offseason during training camp and rehab and continue to recover. And he says that things are going in the right direction with Brandon Ayuk, and he's excited for him once he's able to get cleared and be back on the team. So overall, the vibes are up. There's no drama. These new coaches, they have high expectations for these players. And I think all of us are very excited. Just a lot of competition. There's just no like negativity out there. And I like that. I like that it's very positive right now. And, you can find some negative. You can find some issues with the team. Of course, no team's perfect. Every team has some liabilities, some issues. But for the most part, the 49ers right now are headed into training camp with not a lot of problems going into this season, especially coming off of a 6-win season. You would expect there's a lot of issues, but I think what we said earlier is this team is hungry and they're embarrassed last year and they want to put it all behind them and prove themselves that they're a better team than 6 wins. And, then you have the Colin Cowherds of the world who we've talked about and we posted about today on, Instagram, that he thinks the Niners are bad and they're going to be the worst team in the NFC West. And things like that is going to motivate the 49ers to prove those people wrong. So I like the doubt. I hope people continue to doubt the 49ers because in the end, makes them look stupid, makes the 49ers look great. And it's great content for people like me, for engagement. So keep on showing that negative nonsense so we can keep those receipts and make you look like a dummy, Cowherd and everybody else out there. So let's take a couple questions and see what we got. Blooming Cat says, do you think CMC finishes out his new contract? I think he does. I mean, barring injury, obviously, if he gets hurt, it's going to be a wash. But as long as he can stay healthy, he's finishing out that contract. And I think they'll honor him and he'll be here unless he, decides to retire a little bit early. But I think he'll be able to play it out. I just hope everything stays good for Christian McCaffrey and he can stay healthy. But a lot of soft tissue injuries and those things can creep up on a player, any athlete, but especially a running back. So hopefully he's okay and, he doesn't have any more issues. And he's had a lot of wear and tear through those legs throughout the years. But knock on wood, hopefully Christian McCaffrey's back and better than ever. And we get that 2023 Christian McCaffrey. If he's back to where he was and Klay Kubiak said what he said today, that he's looking awesome. If he's back to that, that area of Christian McCaffrey, he's going to be comeback player of the year. Absolutely. No questions asked. So Debtopia says, Chelsea says he has dad strength now. It's okay. Yeah, Chris McCaffrey with the dad strength loading. A couple months, he's going to be a full-fledged dad, and it's going to make him a little bit stronger. So you're right. Deb says, hit the like button. Make sure you do it. Hit that like button. And she also says that the Steelers traded Pickens to Dallas. Do the Steelers still want BA? Would we trade him? That contract stinks. I don't think we're going to trade BA unless your name rhymes with Grant Schmone or somebody like that, and you're trying to make your YouTube videos and get clicks and things of that nature. So I don't think they're trading BA. They had a chance earlier this offseason. Nobody wants that contract. They gave him his guaranteed money. If you trade BA, you're not getting much, maybe a 6th or 7th round draft pick. He's still rehabbing. At this point, anybody thinking they're going to trade Brandon Ayuk right now in this season, like before the trade point or whatever, like as it is right now going into training camp, it's crazy. There's no way, because these teams they got their 90-man roster set. They got the schedule coming up. They got training camp. They want to be ready to roll. They're ready to go. They don't need a guy that's coming in rehabbing and they don't know what to expect. At this point, you're past all that stuff. The draft is over. You're ready to focus on getting these younger players integrated into your lineups. It's not going to happen. I don't think the Niners are trading BA. They've committed to him. It is what it is. They moved past all that. All the drama's gone. They're not trading him, right? They signed him to his guaranteed contract bonus, all that stuff. If they were going to trade him, they would have done it already. So I don't think the Steelers are getting Brandon Ayuk from him. I'll put it this way. If the Steelers get Brandon Ayuk, I will be absolutely, absolutely shocked beyond words. So, New York subway. Let's see. Any case, that's it for today. That's the news. Hopefully, it's all, good up. It's all good from here moving forward. It's all, going to go in the right direction. The vibes are up. Let's hope the vibes continue to stay up. Hopefully nothing crazy happens, but you never know. It's 49ers. So we'll see. Hopefully Brock's contract gets signed soon. We got rookie minicamp tomorrow. The reporters are going to be there. So hopefully we get some content tomorrow. We get to, get a little sneak peek on rookie camp. We'll see what the, media posts tomorrow, all the beat reporters and stuff. So good to see all that. It's going to be fun to see. And I'm sure the 49ers will post a few things here and there. So I'm excited. I'll keep you posted. Of course, I'll post all that once I see it and I'm able to get to it. And hopefully tonight the Warriors can steal game 2 and win without Steph. It's going to be tough. Hopefully Jimmy Butler can go and be vintage, like 2023 Jimmy Butler, put the squad on his back, and Buddy Hield can continue to be Buddy Curry. And then, somebody else is going to step up. So go Warriors, Bay Area. Let's keep the vibes up. You guys have a good rest of your day. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit that like button. Take care. Have a good rest of your day. If there's any breaking news, we'll be back. Take care.